Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be talking about career choices, how to choose the right career for maybe yourself if you're a little stuck, and also just like my story on how I got to choose my career as well too. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so first I'll start off with my story. So basically, I never really had like, a strict path or anything that I was on when it came to like careers or what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. I remember being in like elementary school and middle school, and they always like make you do a project or something on like what you want to be when you grow up. And I always put like pediatrician. I don't know why, but I always wanted to be like a kid doctor. So that was always like my number one go-to. So I was like, well, maybe I can become a doctor, who knows? So I kind of like had pushed it aside because obviously like that was so long, so many years before I had to really choose. So like even when I got into high school, like I never really was involved in any type of like clubs. I didn't really do any after school programs. The only thing that I was actually involved in was track, and that was like more sport-ish. But most of my time I skate, so I do figure skating, and I skate for synchronized figure skating teams. So I did that pretty much all through my elementary school, middle school, and high school career, and that was kind of like more of the focal point for me. I put all of my effort and all of my investment and everything into that, obviously because I still wanted to continue when I went to college. And that was kind of like my number one priority, only because like it's taught me discipline, it's taught me teamwork, it's taught me how to be a leader, how to be a follower, and so many life skills that I was like, hey, like I'm not really getting too much of this in class, like this is gonna help me when I get out of school and have to go out into the real world. So that was kind of my mindset. When I was in high school, like I said, I did have a video about how choosing community college. If you guys want to look at that one, you guys can go ahead and look at that. But I did end up going to community college right after high school. I didn't know what college I wanted to go to. I didn't know what I wanted to study. So rather than waste money and, go through all of that stress, which I don't do very well with stress, I ended up going to community college, and it was very nice, very chill. I found myself there, and I knew I still wanted to continue skating, so I did that as well too. And then I happened to find the college that I wanted to go to, which was Adrian College. I got recruited to go there for figure skating and synchronized figure skating. So it was kind of both, honestly. Like I reached out to them only because I was a transfer student. I didn't know if they had enough room or if I could still transfer or go to the college. I do have a video on that as well too if you guys want to check it out. But moving on, so when I was in community college, the same thing, didn't really do a lot of volunteer work, only I went to school, came home, I skated, I had 2 jobs, almost 3 jobs at the time when I was, going to school. So I was kind of like preoccupied with life. I was really getting into it. So it was kind of hard to choose like the right career path for me. I knew I wanted to get kind of like in the medical field because like that was always something that interests me. And I don't know, like I never really went to the doctors a lot. Like I was never really sick. My brothers and sisters, like nobody really had any medical conditions or anything. So I was not the type of person to like always be in the hospital or always be around that sort of stuff. So I think that's where like my curiosity kind of sparked. But once I decided to transfer, then that was kind of like, okay, I'm in a 4-year college now. Like I have to decide and have to figure out like what I'm gonna do for these next 3 to 4 years that I'm gonna be here. So one of my friends was actually doing biology. She's like, oh, I'm gonna do PA. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. Like maybe I can go and do something like that. Or even if I wanted to do PA, people were telling me we might as well just become a doctor because it's like, the next best thing. And I was like, alrighty, well, let's see if we can do it. So I declared my major to be biology. But that was kind of hard also because when I was going to school, I do have a video on that as well too, how I went to college without really having any type of money or anything. So while in college, I skated on a figure skating team, I skated on a synchronized figure skating team, and I worked at Red Lobster, and I went to school full-time. My major was biology, so I had lectures plus labs. So all of that crunched into 3 years was a lot. So I wasn't involved in anything else besides, you know, skating and stuff. So I really didn't get that type of exposure. I didn't volunteer during my time because I was like, I can't volunteer my time and not get paid for it. I have to work and get paid because I have no money. So it was kind of like balancing life, you know, trying to figure out how I can get through this. My parents were not very well off. I'm not very well off. So it kind of like put me in that type of situation to where it's like, honestly, money is the only thing that's gonna get me through this. And obviously, like, I didn't have that much and my parents didn't qualify for a lot. So I couldn't volunteer. I couldn't really do any of that stuff because I had to work to make money to survive in college. So it was kind of like I had to pick and choose where my priorities were gonna be. So, I mean, 3 years later, I ended up graduating with my BA in biology. I had talked to one of the healthcare, like, career, you know, advisors that was there. And she was like, you know, like, you have a great story and your grades aren't so bad. Mine was like A and B's, maybe one C every now and then. But, like, you know, it was hard to have to do skating and work and school. Like, it was a lot on my plate, and I did it because that's what I'm used to, and I'm always an average student, but it didn't give me the chance to, you know, be above average, unfortunately. But anyways, talking to her, and she was like, I think what's best for you is to take a gap year. She was like, you know, save up money, calculate your expenses, go back home, because she really only had connections. I went to school in Michigan. She really only had connections in Michigan, so it was kind of hard. I live in California, and I wanted to go back home to California. I wanted to go to schools that were in California. She didn't really have too many connections, but she did like some research and would send me, you know, schools and links and little things that I can look up for. So I ended up coming back home, and after I graduated, I took the gap year. I studied for the MCAT because I was like, okay, well, in order for me to get into medical school, I have to, I did decide to go to medical school. Yeah, sorry, forgot about that. I decided to go to medical school, and I was like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna reach for the stars and I'm just gonna do it. So I came home to study for the MCAT and take it. I had already taken it once before, so I was like, well, I'll take it again and let's see what happens. So that's like how I deal with like my anxiety. I like to try things first, and then so I know how it is the next time. So I took it before going into my senior year, which I probably shouldn't have because I hadn't really taken all the classes that you need to take the MCAT anyways, but whatever. So it's probably not a good idea, and it wasn't at the time. Anyway, so I came home, I worked, I started to volunteer. I volunteered for California Medical Hospital or Hospital Center or something over here in LA. So I did that for about a year, and I actually got like over 300 hours with them, and it was really cool because it was something that was, I guess, based out of UCLA that they offered. So it was pretty cool. I did that for about a year. But during that time, I was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to be in the hospital volunteering. I'm going to get in touch with so many, you know, doctors and nurses and everybody. And I'm going to see like how the hospital actually works, because this is what I want my career to be. So while studying for the MCAT, while volunteering, I was also working at Red Lobster. And I also started a job as a coach, synchronized figure skating, to my very first team that I went to, Rose City Crystals. So I was doing all four of those my first year out of college after I graduate. Working 2 jobs, Red Lobster, skating coach, volunteering, and, you know, all that good stuff. So when I was volunteering, the only thing that kind of like I didn't really like was we were assigned to specific floors. So we had to go through this whole training process, and we were assigned to these specific floors, and we couldn't really leave. So like, let's say I was assigned to like, you know, floor 8, and that was the telemetry floor. Like, I was only assigned to that floor. I could only help in that floor. I couldn't go anywhere else just because that was my assignment. And they have like these tiers and these levels that you have to go through. You know, you have to have so many hours in order to build up in there. So I mean, it wasn't really like the best experience that I, you know, think that I had, but I think a lot of good did come out of it, because I tried to get involved with a lot of, you know, MDs that were there, but there were a lot of PAs that were also there too. And one PA in particular, he was just like, I don't know why you want to become a doctor. He's, you know, everybody gives their input and tells you little things. He's like, it's so much stress. He's like, it's so much work. And like, yeah, I get like the pay. He's like, but he's like, why not just become a PA? He's like, you can choose your hours. He's like, I come to work from this time to this time. He's like, I go home. He's like, it's not like I'm on call all the time, you know? So he's like, the hours are better. He's like, obviously the pay is not that much better. He's like, but it still works out, you know? He's like, I can still see my family and, you know, have my career. And that was like a big turning point for me too when he said that, that, because I was like, well, I come from a family of 8. I love big families. I was like, I want to have a big family, you know, sometime soon. I was like, should I pick my career over having a family? I was already like 24, 23 at the time, and I was like, what should I do? Like, should I stay? Should I not stay with the medical? So it kind of like was twisting and turning, you know, my gears. But I had already set out going to medical school, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this and see what happens. So I asked him if he wanted to be be some type of recommendation letter for me. He said, yeah, I know you have to have like an MD or something like that, but at the time I was just trying to pick and choose whoever I could. I didn't really talk to too many MDs. I couldn't really get in touch with them, because by the time I would like sit and chat with them, they'd have another assignment, they'd have another floor, they'd get paged. So they were like in and out most of the time. They came, saw their patient, went on the computer, blah, 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 and then left. And I was like, well, I'm volunteering, so I have to stay here. So I couldn't really like walk and talk or get to know them or tell them about me or anything. So it's kind of like a disadvantage to me. So then I actually got to know a lot more with that. I actually got to know a lot more of the nurses. So I always said to everybody, and everybody, all my friends, all my family can quote me. I just said I didn't want to become a nurse. I don't know. It wasn't something that was on my mind. It wasn't something that was on my radar. I never really looked into it because, you know, I'm always shoot for the moon, and if you fall, you'll land on the stars type of person. So I was shooting for medical school, but I spent so much time with nurses, and I got to know them, so many friends, you know, and with that, it was just like another turning point in my mind where I was like, well, maybe nursing's not so bad. Like, you know, all these people are so friendly, and I spent most of my time helping out the nurses anyways, and they were so, you know, they were so generous with me, and they were so thankful that I was there to help them. So after that first year, I stopped volunteering because I was, you know, trying to apply and get all my P's and Q's together, get all my expenses together to apply for medical school. I did get all of my applications together. Obviously, I didn't get in anywhere, so I was like, well, my MCAT score was average. I took it and it wasn't the best, so I was like, well, I don't know what to do now because I didn't get in. I didn't have enough money, even if I did get in, because I knew going back to school I'd have to take out more student loans, and it was just a lot of stress and too much for me. So I was like, you know what, somebody told me about PA school, maybe I'll look into that. I had already had some volunteer hours, you know, I had about 300 and then 300 to 400. So I was like, well, maybe I'll do like phlebotomy. Guys, I have my phlebotomy license and I haven't used it. So after that, I was like, well, let me get my phlebotomy license. I was like, I'll work as a phlebotomist and then maybe I'll go to PA school. I was like, I got time. There's nothing else to do. So I ended up getting my phlebotomy license. Check, got that under my belt. I did all my hours and stuff, so that was cool. But when it came to finding a job, it was like, well, do I want to work, you know, like full-time with this for only like 15 bucks an hour? Not really, because I was working at Red Lobster at the time, and Red Lobster is always like a hit or miss because you're serving, but I also would get good tips. So I was like, well, how do I, you know, balance? Can I do part-time this? There was not a lot of, you know, hiring in my area, so it just became really hard to find a job after that. So I was like, you know what? Maybe this is not my path. Maybe this is not what I'm, you know, supposed to be doing. Like, I just felt like there were so many roadblocks and so many things that were in my way that were making it like impossible to choose a career. Like, I wanted to go to medical school, but like, it's not that my grades weren't good enough in my MCAT. It's just that it's very competitive, and I only had a couple hours of volunteer, and I only had maybe like 20 hours of shadowing time. So there really wasn't too much going off. And also, like, I really didn't have, you know, like an epic story or like an epic personal statement, you know, to get along with that, but it was okay. So jumping back into now, I have decided not to go to PA school, only because it's not a career that was meant for me. And when I thought about it, it was just not something that I was really passionate about. Like, I tried my hardest, but it just wasn't something that I was like, okay, yes, this is what I want to put 110% of my effort into. It was kind of just choosing something at the time, like where I can go and what I can do with what I had, not really trying to pick and choose what I love to do. So jumping back into now, I have a sister who went to school and who became an LVN, and like with that, it also like opened my eyes, because like it got to see like how much, you know, like she improved and how much, you know, she loved what she did, and going to school and doing all that stuff and learning all the terminology and everything. So seeing her go through school and kind of like helping out through like that whole journey and stuff, it was kind of like, okay, like maybe that's something that I want to do. I was like, I already have some of the classes for it. I have my BA in biology. If I wanted to go back to school, it's probably only for like another year and a half to become to get my BSN, to take the test to become an RN. So I'm like, new career path, guys. I'm just always, you know, swerving and going whichever way, which is also not a bad thing. If you guys, you know, don't know what you want to do and you want to try a million different things, honestly, I say do it, because you're gonna know what you like in the end. It's like choosing your favorite color, you know, trying on different colors, or finding the right foundation for your face. You literally have to try so many different ones to find the right one. So how is that not the same when it comes to choosing your career? You have to try so many different things, volunteer places, you know, figure out where you're gonna fit in, what you like to do, what type of environment you like to be in. So I knew I still wanted to be with kids, so I'm like, okay, well maybe I'll do something still with like children, so I can still like work in like a children's hospital if I wanted to, and become an RN. So I started volunteering at Children's Hospital, got involved with a lot of the RNs there, and it was just an overall like great experience. Like I loved the hospital there, I loved the environment, I loved being around kids. I'm the oldest of 8, so I'm very much that type of person who loves to be around kids and who loves to, you know, take care of them and stuff. So jumping back into now, I decided RN is going to be the career path if I want to go forward and continue on my education after that. At least I'll have that standpoint to be able to, you know, jump off of that and go wherever I want to go. So sorry if that story was really, really long, but you know, it's taken me a lot of time to figure out and to go back and forth from what I like and what I don't like, where I fit in, where I don't fit in, and like, you know, bills. Like I still have to pay student loans because I'm not in school. I've been out of school for almost 4 years now. So it's like the wheels are turning, and you know, life is still going on and stuff. Also with this whole coronavirus thing, it's been like a big whirlwind to try and like figure out what I can do and where I can go. So that was my journey on how I figured out and how I found that nursing is probably going to be the best career choice for me and something that I am more interested in. And it's, you know, it's wide range. Like I don't just have to do bedside. Like I can do administrative work, I can do research, like I can do so many other things. My sister right now works for a school, like I can be a school nurse. Like there's so many different things that I can do, and I don't like being held down to just one thing. Like I like to try so many different things, as you've seen from my story. But yeah, so that's my story. I don't know if it relates to anybody. I don't know if you guys have any questions. If you do, don't forget to, you know, comments down below. But also we're gonna get started with some like tips and some tricks, and obviously some more things that I've learned along the way with choosing the right career path for you. Alrighty guys, so you've heard my story, how I, you know, came to the decision that I'm going to choose nursing as my career. But I mean, some tips and tricks that I have for you guys. You know, it's never too early to choose and to pick what you want. I know some people are like, oh, you have your whole life, or oh, it's too early, oh, you have this, that. Like, it's really not that early, because you're exposed to so many different things as you're growing up. Like, you're around your parents, whether your parents are in specific careers, whether your aunts and uncles, whether like cousins, anybody. So as like one tip that I would say is to like volunteer. Maybe, I don't know if your parents have like bring your son or daughter to work day or things like that, like go with them. Even if it's something that you think that you might not like, it's better to know that you specifically do not like it rather than maybe thinking about it and not really knowing and being unsure. So if you can go and volunteer anywhere, it doesn't matter. I mean, some places obviously you have to check if there's an age restriction, but it's never, you're never too young, never too old. I mean, you go to the doctors on a daily basis. I'm sure you probably go to like the dentist on a daily basis. Like if you're thinking about health care and stuff like that, like those are the, you know, best ones to try and like get, you know, like a foot in the door, or maybe like volunteer, stuff like that. I mean, if you have any cousins, aunts, uncles that are involved in stuff that you're like, oh, like, what do you do? Or, oh, I like what you do. Maybe you can, you know, go with them for a day or see if there's, you know, something that you can learn for them. So don't slash out volunteer. You can volunteer any point in time. I would say at least in high school, try and volunteer, you know, wherever you feel suit. If you are interested in the healthcare, in business, in teaching, you know, things like that. Like there's so many different options for you as far as like career paths. You can take those career aptitude tests. There are some that are online that you can take. Just go to Google, type it in, and you know, they have these little tests. You have to answer little questions and stuff, and obviously like they'll tell you, oh, this based on obviously your answers and what you said, this is the right career choice for you, or where they think you best fit in. So that could be something that you can also do as well too. And I mean, during high school, like, get involved with clubs. If you want to be in like ASB, I was involved in clubs, so I don't really know all of the clubs. Ecology club, there's a whole bunch of different things. Like, don't forget and don't, you know, feel bad if you really don't know, but don't be afraid to find out. Like, ask your career counselor, ask, you know, your teachers, ask anybody, see if you can get any type of information. Just do your research, I would say. And don't be afraid to try a whole bunch of different things, because you never know where you're gonna end up in the end. You could be like me and try a whole bunch of different things, and that's okay too. Like I said, try a whole bunch of different things, see where you fit in, see, you know, what's gonna fit best for you, whether you know you're this type of person or that type of person, especially when you get into college and you have to declare a major. Make sure it's gonna be something that you're gonna enjoy doing. I know they always say, like, if you're happy, you know, doing what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I like to stand by that as well too. But I mean, money's great too, so whatever you choose is up to you. But I hope this helped out for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go out there, find the right career for you and yourself, not anybody else, something that you're gonna enjoy doing, because you may do it for the rest of your life, you may not, but that's something that you're gonna have to do, and that's the journey that you're gonna have to go on with yourself, by yourself. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like the videos and subscribe as well too, so we can keep in touch with more videos to come. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything else that I can discuss, I know it's, you know, some small bit of information, but I just like sharing my story with everybody, just because I don't like you guys to feel alone, and I want you to feel like there's somebody else out there that might be in the same boat as you as well too, that's going through it and trying to figure it out as well. Alrighty guys,